welcome Eiko to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, talking about with you about Final Cry, this new album, the Everest. So the Everest, and it related to the metal world. So starting with this, I saw during your career since Wavecrash, then Spellcast, and going on, and to this Everest, that the band changed a lot with the sound, and this new album is more melodic death metal than the previous one that is melodic death thrash metal. So what do you in each album decide to change the sound to move forward?
Well, we never decided to change anything. It just happened.
Okay.
It from Spellcast, Neptune's Relief, those were the albums where we got more thrashy. But we had our old singer, Mario, who didn't really growl. He had more a melodic voice. And because of certain circumstances, he had to leave the band after many years. And we didn't find a singer. That's where there is a 12-year gap between Neptune's Relief and Zombic. And we couldn't find a singer, so I decided to sing on Zombic.
Yes.
And I have a complete different vocal style, and that where it became a little more death metal. But we had those, guitar-wise, we had those melodic death metal influences for many years. But I think people recognize them more since we work with brutal vocals. But we never, inside of the band, we never talked about like, oh, let's change our style. Oh, let's sound like this, or let's sound like, it just happens.
Oh, okay,
there's
okay.
no master plan behind it.
Okay, well, okay. So talking about this new album, why do you decide to put the Everest? Because if we tried with the line, it's much better to Everest. No, it's like the mountain. So why do you decide to call this Everest, and what is behind the lyrics into this new album?
Well, first, I don't write the lyrics. The whole lyrical concept is Burkhard, the other guitarist.
Okay.
But the Everest, that's a nice word game, because a lot of people found their Everest on the Everest. How many people died trying to climb on the Everest? So that's the topic Burkhard chose to write about. Mountaineering, because there is a lot of things in it that suits metal lyrics: drama, dying, betrayal, camaraderie. And he thought it was interesting, so we made an album just about mountaineering. And maybe that's because that's the reason why it sounds a little colder and a little harsher, because it's cold upon the Everest. I've never been there, but people told me it's pretty cold.
Yes, it's a pretty cold. So other thing that I saw is that you change a lot with members, that change a lot especially with the vocals, because this new album has a new vocal into there. So what are you trying? Why you never find the great singer for all albums in Final Cry?
Well, yeah, we have a very long history in losing singers.
Yes.
Maybe it's because we're assholes and singers just don't want to stay with us, but that's not it. I mean, this band gets 33 years old this year. 33 years. So from time to time, you just lose people. People change goals in life. People change attitude, or people just lose interest in being in a band. And that's what happened in 33 years. And you know, we're not from Berlin or Hamburg, from a big city. We're from the countryside. So that makes it harder to find singers. So that's the only reason why I decided to do the vocals on Zombie, because we couldn't find a singer, and it took us 12 years. So I said, if I don't do it, we will never release the album. And luckily it worked and we got back. But, and then we found Eric, but he didn't stay because of certain reasons. And we started to record the Everest with Eric, our previous singer. But when we recorded the Everest, we recorded it in 2 sessions. The first session was in November 2020. The second session was in November 21. And after the first session, there was a little tension and a little fight going on inside the band with Eric. And the result was he left. And luckily we found Kai and had him re-record Eric's vocals and do the rest of the album. And now we're pretty happy with Kai. I hope he stays this time. But losing a singer is always, it sucks, because if you lose a guitarist, you can replace him. But the singer is always the face of the band.
Yes.
And anytime you lose the singer, it's like losing the face of the band, and then you get a new singer, and it's like changing the face. And I hate it, but you cannot keep somebody in the band who doesn't want to be in the band anymore. Or you cannot work with somebody, like in case of Mario, the guy who was our singer for almost 20 years or 15 years. Or let me figure. No, it was almost 20 years. If it doesn't make no more sense to work with this guy, you got to let him go. Otherwise it kills the band. So we decided to look for a new singer. We found Kai, we found a new label, and we're happy.
Okay, that's nice to hear. So one thing that you said is about the vocals for every album. This kind of stuff change a lot. So I think when you told me this story, perhaps this has something to do with the sound of the band, because Wave Crest is more heavy thrash, then Spellcast is more thrash into the dead some parts, then Wolves Among Sheep is dead thrash melodic in some heavy metal parts. Then Netus Belief is more dead melodic thrash, this kind of stuff, and Zombie 2. And this new album is complete. The Everest is completed melodic. So perhaps this change of the face into the frontman poster is perhaps this change has a lot to do with the sound change of the Final Cry.
Well, to me, Final Cry has always been 3 ingredients: heavy metal, thrash metal, and death metal. It's like you cook a meal, and one day you add more of this, and the next day you add more of that, and the ingredients are the same, just the mixture changes a little bit, and that's how we did it. We always had heavy metal influences, Judas Priest, stuff like that. We always, not always, but later we had those influences like Nagelfar, Dissection, stuff like that. But the basic has always been thrash metal. It's just that the melodic death metal parts are a little more. And the vocals sound more like death metal. And I think that made the change, I guess. If for me as a guitarist, I don't play differently. I play the same way I played on almost every album.
Okay.
But it's interesting to see how people react. They say, oh, you changed your style. It never felt like changing a style to me. But it's different because I'm in the band. And I'm a musician, so it's I hear it with different ears than somebody who just hears the album.
Okay, no, that's true. That's true. So, talking about your discography again, Wavecrest released by yourself. Then the Spellcast, Wolves Among Sheep, and Neptune's Relief was released by OTR Productions.
yeah.
OTR Productions. Then Zombie again is released by yourself, and this new album is released by MDD Records. So how was the transition at the beginning to have a new label, then OTR Records, this again by yourself, and to MDD Records?
Well, OTR Records, I don't think it really has been a label. I never had contact to the guy Burkhard made it. He had everything he had was a label code. And we got that to get reviews in magazines. You need that label code. And that's all. That it wasn't a real record deal. OTR. So to sign with MDD, that's our first real record deal. And yeah, when we did Zombie, we tried to get a deal, but labels weren't so interested because we were gone for 12 years. We weren't really gone, but we didn't have a release for 12 years. So, and it made more sense to release it ourselves than to release it with somebody like OTR Productions. They never let us out of any contract because I think there has never been really a contract. Suddenly there was no contract to that guy from no contact to the guy from OTR Records. Maybe he's dead now for 10 years and we just don't know. That's the truth. That's all I can say. And then when we did the first recording session for Zombie, for Everest, for the first 4 songs, we took them and sent them to record labels, and suddenly MDD was interested, which was good news for us. And having signed to MDD now, it changed everything. Because we had, if it wasn't for MDD, there was no chance for me talking to somebody from Peru, or last week I had an interview with a guy in India, then Australia, and that's all MDD. So that's really cool.
No, okay. So talking about one aspect about the reviewers, about especially the reviewers and fans, when these thoughts came a lot in a lot of ways. So when a band released their first album, all the media talks about the first album. It was the great album, etc. But then the band continues to grow up with more albums, and we listen the last album. Many people think that the last album is something like, but a counterproductive thing is that the new album usually for the band is the best work until the date. So for you, how was the feeling to with these kind of aspects, to see the reviewers or the fans talks about the first album, and always for the band is the last album is the great work?
Of course it is, because that's the one you finish last. And well, it's not, if I look to how people talk and how those true people talk, it's not only the first album which was the best, it was the first demo tape, because that's the most true. And give me a break. We started the band when we were 16 or 17, and I will be 50 in August. So how can you expect me to play with 50 years old like I played with 16 years old. I mean, how stupid is that? And if somebody said, well, your first demo tape was the best you ever did, I say, well, nice, go get it and listen to it. But we went on, we did a couple of albums, and of course, you have the strongest relationship always to your last album. That's natural as a band. But if I compare the new album to Wavecrest, which was our first album, I don't have no real relationship to Wavecrest, because it was 97 and I was 25 years old. And all I remember, I was just proud to have a CD out. I was proud as fuck just having a CD out, and it would have sounded totally different if I knew what I know today about producing, about guitar playing. But I see every album just as a statement at a point of time. And so it's okay. But I don't want nobody to expect me to sound today like I did 30 years ago. It wouldn't be honest. So we always progressed, but we're still Final Cry. That's important.
Okay.
So I'm cool with that.
Okay. So talking about Germany nowadays has an inclination to the melodic death metal scene. That's a weird thing to see, because I heard a lot of bands with Nightingales, this kind of stuff that
oh yeah, good friends of mine.
Yes, that plays melodic death metal. So as you remember in the 90s, when in the 80s and 90s, Germany has a strong thrash and heavy and power metal scene. But talking about the extreme metal scene, black metal, death metal, etc., more styles, more extreme metal styles, your country hasn't never extreme metal sound. So if we spoke with the new bands into the death metal sound, perhaps now we can recognize extreme metal sound came from Germany.
Yeah, maybe. I think the influences for bands like Nightingales or us, it comes from Sweden. But I remember back in the day when Nightingales started out, we played our first show with Nightingales, I think in 1996 or 97. And we were in contact since then. And there were a couple of bands playing this, I call it Iron Maiden death metal style, like, you know, Burden of Grief?
No.
That's a German death metal band. That's good friends of ours, but we weren't into that scene so much back in the day, because we were more recognized as a power of thrash metal band in the 90s. But we played shows with these bands, and the scene was very small, but there was a great unity. That's what I remember. And when I compare it to Germany, especially the German scene nowadays, it's like everybody has a band.
Yes, well, around the world.
And it's, yeah. So I lose a little sight to it, because there's so many bands and you get so many emails and so many messages. Oh, could you listen to this? Oh, could you listen to my band make a statement? And it's a lot easier to be in a band today, because it's so easy to record. Everybody has a recording system at home, and everybody's releasing anything, and it's just so much. it was less bands back in the 90s. So, and less bands means more unity and more staying together. I miss these times.
Okay, okay. Now, we are very close to end this interview. And one question, what are the future plans that the band, The Final Cry, has for this Everest? Perhaps a Latin tour here, and a European tour, US tour, or perhaps do more videos, etc., etc.
Well, okay, touring, we all have jobs. Some of us have kids, and just go away for like 6 weeks is tough. But we didn't play a show for like a little more than 2 years now because of the pandemic. And we just want to play. If it's a tour, if it's a couple of weekenders, whatever, it's all good to me. I just want to play. So I don't make big plans. But one of my biggest wishes is just make it outside of Germany. We never played a show outside of Germany. So if we could play a show in Holland and Belgium, wherever, I'm happy, because that's the next step. If we someday make it to the US or to South America, it would be cool, but that's not the next step. And you always have to be realistic and take small steps. And the next step is just be back on stage. We got a couple of shows scheduled, and I hope they take place and don't get postponed or canceled because there's new Corona restrictions, whatever. So I just want to play the next shows and then look forward. That's all I can say. Of course, it would be cool to play in Peru or Brazil, but one step after the other.
Okay.
The album isn't still out yet.
Okay. One thing that you said in the previous answers is that you delayed 12 years to release a new album, since from Neptune's Reliefs to Zombie. So what are you delayed 12 years to release a new album? Because it's a very expensive, 10 years, when a band delayed 10 years is a long way.
Yeah, it sucked. When we released Neptune's Relief, I think 2007. The album got well received. We played a lot of shows until 2008. And then we had to ask the singer to leave the band. Shortly after, the drummer left the band. So then we found, it took us a year to find a drummer, which was one of our old drummers, Holger. He came back to the band. So that problem was solved. But we never made it to find a singer. First, we asked our first singer, Jens, to come back to the band. He was gone for almost 15 years. He was back in the band, and we realized nothing has changed. So we had him, we asked him politely to leave the band. That was the first 3 years gone. The first 3 years, no release, no show. Then we had, or was it even more years? I don't remember. Then we had Mario back in the band, the guy who sang on Neptune's Relief. It didn't work. He had to go. Then we worked with another singer, but we didn't take him because that was not what we wanted. We asked Mario again. He had to leave again. So that was about 9 years. Because time flies. And then I was so angry that I said, give me that fucking microphone, I'll do it. Because I was in a death metal band in the early 90s as a singer. So that wasn't so new to me. It was just 25 years since the last time I did any vocals. So that took me another 2 years to get my voice right. And then we recorded Neptune's Relief. And then we finally realized, oh, that was 12 years. It just happened, and then I told the band, I will sing on the album, but I won't do it any further because I'm a guitarist and I'm not James Hetfield. I cannot play and sing at the same time. Then we tried to hire another guitarist so that I would just sing, but that wasn't right. And this guitarist was a very, very close friend of mine. And he told me, he said, dude, if you don't play guitar, it's not fine. You can't do it. I said, okay. And then I found Eric. And we were playing shows for 2 years with Eric. And it was cool since we started recording. And then it didn't work again. So he left the band. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I tell you, having a gap these 12 years or 10 years or how much it was, not having albums out, not playing shows, it really depressed me. It sucked. But finally we're back. It was worth the wait, I guess.
Okay. So, well, Eiko, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations for the new album. Perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metallidium readers?
Oh, I've never been to South America. I'd love to go. I don't speak Spanish, but I meet a lot of people from South America at festivals like Partizan, or a lot of Partizan from Brazil, Colombia. Now, I would love to come over and one time play for you guys. And I really, really appreciate the love for metal that's going on in South America. A couple of friends of mine, like Disaster, you know them maybe. Mm-hmm. They played in South America, and every time they talk about playing in South America, they say it must be awesome. Yeah. Because people are getting really crazy. I heard a lot about Colombia or Brazil. I don't know how the scene in Peru is. Is it as strong as the rest of South America? No, like Colombia, no like Chile, not like Brazil. It's very different way. Very different here. But it seems to be something going on there. Otherwise, I wouldn't talk to a Peruvian metal mag, right? Yes. So I really appreciate the dedication that South American metal fans have. I always feel it when I talk to people from South America at festivals or like now online. It's crazy. I appreciate it. I wish I could say something in Spanish to the fans, but all I can say is una cerveza grande, por favor. Cerveza grande. That's all I can say. But yeah, thanks for having me, and I say hello to every South American metalhead and stay healthy. Don't let governments divide the unity in the metal scene. That's important. Yes. Because what we have, this unity in the metal scene, is something that they can take away from us. Yes. With all this bullshit going on in the world right now. I just talked to a guy from the Ukraine like yesterday, and it's there's so much bullshit going on right now, and it's heartbreaking. And as long as the metal scene stays the way it is, That's what they can take away from us. That's all I can say.